Welcome, Irish fans, to this week's edition of the Jack Swarbrick Show. On today's show, we'll talk with Notre Dame cross-country runner Karen Lesowitz, and we'll meet Jim McLaughlin, the new head coach of the Notre Dame women's volleyball team. And now to get things started, here are your hosts, Notre Dame Vice President and Director of Athletics Jack Swarbrick, and Notre Dame captain and starting linebacker Joe Schmidt.
Well, good morning. Welcome to everybody. Joe, it's great to have you here. Another week, another game.
Another game down.
Yeah, one more down. It was the ultimate mixed bag, right? A thrilling victory, but under the toughest of circumstances.
Yeah, it's funny. You don't ever really have that kind of reaction. You know, I touched my head and I'm kind of looking down after a victory, but it was hard fought and. Obviously, you know, we lost some key contributors, and that's hard to do. So it's got to put it behind us now. But it's still there's still that a little bit of lingering pain there for some of us.
Yeah, no, I mean, if this team has had one hallmark in this young season, it's been resiliency. We hate that people are dropping at the rate they're dropping.
Yeah.
We're now 5 starters down, but everybody's been stepping up, and the latest example of that was Deshaun, who came in under tough circumstances and did well.
Yeah, you know, and I think people tend to forget because the conversation was Malik and Everett before that, and then their competition before, and so people tend to forget that Deshaun was a very highly ranked recruit out of Ohio when he came out of high school, and he's a very, very capable quarterback, and so I think that people they kind of just tend to overlook that fact and think, oh yeah, well he was a backup, but he's a very, very capable quarterback, and I think that our team is extremely confident of our prospects with him at the helm, and he's been doing a very good job at the line of scrimmage this week, you know, with his command of the offense, and he really doesn't look like someone that's coming in to fill in right now. It looks like he's assuming the role of the starting quarterback at Notre Dame, and that's what we need our quarterback to do. So I think that's great for us.
Yeah, he's a really intelligent, bright young guy. I was talking to Coach on Sunday morning, and you know, one of the things we're talking about is you can't coach 6'4".
No, I know well enough. I cannot coach myself any taller than what I am right now.
But he sees the field really well, and you saw that in this game, especially on the 2-point conversion.
Yeah,
where I mean, there was a lot of movement going on, a lot of traffic flying around, and he saw through it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Deshaun is he's a cerebral player. You know, he's a very high intellect, and that's something that people have known about him since day one, since he got here. And you know that just from talking to him, just in everyday conversation, but talking the game of football as well. He's one of the guys on the team I really like to talk football with. And he's always been able to give me a great idea of how the offense is doing and what's been going on. So I'm really excited to see how he kind of acts now in the starting role as he's assumed that role. And I'm really looking forward to this next week with Georgia Tech.
Yeah, another loss in that game, of course, was Durham-Smythe. You know, I must ask Durham. Well, I did ask him 3 times, once in the locker room, once on the bus, and once on the plane, are you okay? And he lied to me all 3 times. Assured me he was, but obviously a lot going on there with the knee and the shoulder, and so that's a tough loss, but at a fairly well-stocked position.
Yeah, I went by St. Liam's last night, spent about an hour with Durham and his mom, and it's entertaining almost in a sick way because Durham's entire right side has been just demolished. So his right shoulder was surgically repaired, his right knee was surgically repaired, and he has a very, very sprained right ankle. So it's horrible because he's trying to get around. He's got one arm, one leg, and it's actually, you have to laugh at this point. And so, you know, Durham's a great sport about it, but we really do have a lot of depth at the tight end position. Chase Hounshell, you know, is always joking about how we're tight end you with the chosen one, Alizé, that has now arrived. So we have, you know, Alizé Jones, Nick Wisher, Tyler Luatua, Chase. Those are 4 guys that are very capable of stepping up now in Durham's absence, and really looking forward to see how those guys perform now in Saturdays.
Defensively, what's your takeaway from the weekend at Virginia?
Well, we know we're going to fight hard. I think our execution level, you know, dipped a little bit at times, but we play the game with such passion, with tenacity and toughness up front, and really guys just like we love playing together, and we love running the football. So overall, I think we gave up some points due to maybe an explosive play here or there, but we played pretty good football as a defense. But there were a lot of things that we need to correct and move forward for so that we can be ready for Georgia Tech this week. And that's kind of what we've been focusing on all week. And obviously, it's a little different of an opponent though coming in this weekend.
Arguably the most efficient offense in the country.
Yeah.
They, in terms of points per possession, time of possession. You know what they're going to run, but it sure isn't easy to stop.
No, it's really not easy to stop at all, and they have so many different weapons, so many ways of attacking you, and they know how you're going to. They know how everyone's tried to defend this option offense for the last 50 years. So for everything you do, they think they have an answer. So it's kind of an interesting game of chess between us and our opponent this week, and really in the end of the day though, it comes down to it's the tough man's football game this weekend. They're going to come in and they're going to try to punch us right in the mouth, and that's how option teams do it. And so for a defensive guy, for a linebacker, this is a great game because you get to go in there and you just get to tackle people and hit people all day long. So it's going to be really fun.
Our fans are used to seeing, relative to option football, seeing us play Navy.
Right.
How does this version of the option differ?
Without getting too much into understanding tendencies for Georgia Tech or Navy, Georgia Tech is not as they do a little bit more with their scheme. So they have a couple different formations that they like to use, whereas Navy likes some other formations more. So I think that the overall aesthetic look, along with the players being just slightly bigger for Georgia Tech, and that's just how they like to run their offense, though. So they like their offensive linemen are anywhere from 300 to one of their guards is 370 pounds, and Navy likes their linemen obviously a little bit smaller. So Navies are 280 to 300 pounds. So that I think is a fundamental difference is on the offensive line, and then just in the plays that they call, they have some different plays that Georgia Tech likes to run. But there are a lot of similarities. So for us, it's good that we play Navy because it prepares us for games like this weekekend.
At 370, I don't think you can get on the battleship.
I was going to say I don't think the Navy needs any 375 or 70-pound gentlemen on their aircraft carriers. It might be a little difficult to get through those small holes in the wall. I don't even know what you call them.
No sailors among us.
No,
right?
no.
Yeah,
I'm looking around trying to get an answer. I got nothing.
Each week brings us another episode of the Showtime series we talked about last week. Did you watch this week's, and what'd you think?
I did. I thought it was great. They did a great job of making of kind of showing more of a human element to the team. The first one was tough because they kind of had to cover so much ground in the first 30 minutes. So this week I really enjoyed. They did a great special on Malik, and obviously the ending of that of this last episode this last week was tough to watch. But then they did some cool stuff on CJ Procise and Chris Brown, just kind of hanging out and being with the boys. So I liked that. I thought they did a good job of kind of just showing what was going on in the program, and I also like that they highlighted Joe Plumeri's talk, because that was one of my favorite things we've done here at Notre Dame, and honestly, he might be the best public speaker I've ever heard speak. So that was if for no other reason, you should watch the special for that. Everybody on the air.
So you've never heard me speak publicly?
I was going to say I've never heard you personally speak. I'm backtracking quickly here.
But, late though.
Yeah,
You're backtracking late but quickly.
Yeah, exactly. No, he was. I said one of these, so you could be in that conversation as well. But he was passionate, fiery, and he had a great message. So he was really good.
Yeah, that was, and that theme of burning the boats has sort of stayed with us since then.
Yeah, no, it really has, and it's kind of become one of our catchphrases and our mottos, and something we're living by this year as a football team. And it's actually, there's a funny story regarding that whole Viking analogy that he used. And he had kind of asked the team if anyone knew of the Vikings, and a few hands dot the crowd. One guy raises his hands. I'm not going to say who, but his explanation of what the Vikings were might have not been up to par. Thankfully, that did not make the show. He didn't exactly get what the Vikings were, so we're not going to mention the guy's name, but it was an entertaining moment for us.
And given the number of alums we have on the other Vikings in Minnesota,
exactly.
It's logical to
it's
to
logical.
Think of them.
It's very, very logical. I'm not gonna say what happened, but you guys can use your imaginations.
We talked about the injuries. You're now 2 weeks in the season. Week 3, a tough game ahead of us. Everybody's beat up a little bit, bumps, bruises. How does the week's prep? Does it reflect that? Is it different once you get into the season? How do you approach it?
So, football's it's a contact game and it's a violent game. So bumps and bruises, they're going to come with the program. That's going to happen. So. Luckily for us, we have a great training staff and an understanding coaching staff that kind of work with you through those bumps and bruises. So if you need to go on a Tuesday and be smart about what you do with your shoulder, or if you have hamstrings, you can work around it and still get great productive reps, but maybe protect something on your body. So I think that they do a really good job of that, but also keeping practices intense and competitive, because once you lose that intensity and that competitiveness, there's no reason to be out there. You're just you're meandering around and you're not getting quality looks, and you're not getting ready for Saturday. So you kind of have to balance. You have to balance it though, because it's a long marathon of a season, and it's not really a sprint. So you have to make sure that you're smart about those injuries, so that you can perform on Saturdays, in September, October, November, and then hopefully sometime in late December or January.
Well, I agree. We from trainers to strength conditioning to our coaches. I think there's a real awareness of that in the way they build the program.
Definitely.
Let's take a break, and we'll come back with our guests.
Looking forward to it.